But sometimes it doesn't. This is the story of iconic songs that fans really loved, but the bands just didn't want to play them anymore. When Revolver dropped in 1966, fans were floored. The Beatles weren't just writing love songs anymore. This was next level stuff. And right at the end of side A sat Tomorrow Never Knows, one of their trippiest, most experimental tracks ever. But despite its influence, they never played it live, not even once. You might think it's because the band stopped touring shortly after Revolver came out. That's part of it. But even before they retired from the stage, Tomorrow Never Knows was never on a set list. Why? Because it was impossible to pull off. George Martin, their legendary producer, called the backing track unrepeatable. The song was stitched together with tape loops, distorted vocals, and studio trickery that just couldn't be recreated live. Not in 1966. In the end, Tomorrow Never Knows became one of the Beatles' greatest studio achievements, and one of their most famous songs to never touch a stage. It was raw, raunchy, and an instant hit. Brown Sugar, released in 1971, became one of the Rolling Stones' signature tracks. The riff alone could shake a stadium. For decades, it was a guaranteed crowd pleaser. Until it wasn't. In 2021, the Stones quietly dropped it from their setlist. Why? Because the lyrics finally caught up to the times. Mick Jagger once admitted he didn't even know what the song was really about when he wrote it, but decades later, its references to slavery, rape, and exploitation became too hard to ignore. Keith Richards defended the song at first, but even he admitted, "You're trying to bury something?" The band never officially canceled it. They just stopped playing it. For some fans, it's a loss. For others, it was long overdue. Either way, Brown Sugar went from being a rock anthem to a song the Stones would rather leave in the past. There's still time to change the road you're on. This is the song. Released in 1971, Stairway to Heaven became the defining epic of Led Zeppelin's legacy. It had everything: mystery, power, emotion. Guitar shops still ban people from playing the opening riff. But here's the twist. The band grew sick of it. Robert Plant especially. He began resenting how Stairway overshadowed the rest of their work. He called it that bloody wedding song and even donated $10,000 to a radio station not to play it. It wasn't just burnout, it was pressure. Every time they stepped on stage, fans demanded Stairway. And for Plant, that expectation became a prison. After their 1980 breakup and the tragic death of John Bonham, full performances of the song became rare. They reunited in 2007 and played it one last time. But since then, Plant has refused to touch it. Sometimes a song becomes so big, the artist just wants to run from it. Here's another one from 1971. Tucked into their album Metal, Fearless is one of Pink Floyd's most underrated masterpieces. It doesn't hit you like Comfortably Numb or Time, it sneaks up on you. A slow, emotional build with acoustic guitars, echoing slides, and that iconic crowd chant of "You'll Never Walk Alone" at the end. Fans love it, critics love it, but the band, they never played it live, not once. Why? Because Fearless wasn't written for the arena. It's subtle, introspective, and moody, traits that didn't fit with Floyd's increasingly massive and theatrical stage shows. By the time the band was playing stadiums, the song had already been forgotten in their setlist plans. Roger Waters did perform it solo decades later, but as for the original Pink Floyd lineup, Fearless was left in the shadows, never heard live, one of their best-loved deep cuts, permanently trapped in the studio. From his 1971 album Hunky Dory, The Bewlay Brothers is one of David Bowie's strangest, most haunting creations. It closes the album like a whisper from another world. Cryptic lyrics, eerie tones, and an ending that sounds like a radio transmission from deep space. Hardcore Bowie fans adore it. Some even call it his secret masterpiece. But here's the twist. Bowie almost never performed it live. For decades, It stayed off every set list. He once admitted he didn't fully understand the song himself. Many believe it was about his half-brother Terry, who struggled with mental illness and spent years institutionalized. It was too personal, too raw, too strange. Aside from one rare intimate performance in 2002 at the BBC Radio Theatre,
the will of a lie like they hope it was.
The Bowie brothers remained a ghost in his catalog. Respected, analyzed, but rarely heard under the lights. A cult classic. Unsolved, untamed, and just the way Bowie liked it. Was it too personal, too cryptic, or both? Tell me why you think Bowie kept the Bowie brothers off the stage. Hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into rock's greatest mysteries.
I once knew a man, a very talented guy.
Whether you say Eagles or the Eagles, depending on how much of a rock purist you are, one thing's for sure. My Man is one of those songs that just hits different. Quiet, heartfelt, and deeply personal. Written and sung by Bernie Leadon, it was released on the Eagles' 1974 album, On the Border, as a tribute to his late friend Graham Parsons. It's soft country rock at its finest, and fans who know it love it.
That old hickory wind.
But you'll never hear it live. After Leadon left the band in 1975, My Man was buried. The Eagles never revisited it, not during their massive reunion tours, not even on deep cut set lists. Why? Because it was Bernie's song, and when he walked out, the song walked with him. Later lineups, especially the Don Henley and Glenn Frey-led version of the band, focused on their stadium anthems. Emotional, low-key tributes like this just didn't make the cut, so despite being one of the Eagles' most personal recordings, My Man became a silent gem, respected, remembered, but left unplayed.
Say I'm crazy, I guess I'll always be.
In 1988, Guns N' Roses were on top of the world, and then they dropped a bombshell. 1 in a Million from the GNR Lies EP was a stripped-down acoustic track with raw, edgy lyrics, and that's where the trouble started. The song included slurs and lines that sparked outrage, racist, homophobic, and xenophobic content that shocked even hardcore fans. Axl Rose defended the lyrics for years, claiming it reflected a character, not his beliefs, but public opinion turned fast and hard.
You know we tried to reach you.
The result, 1 in a Million was never played live, not once. It became a black mark on the band's legacy. In later years, even Axl seemed to walk away from it. The 2018 reissue of GNR Lies quietly removed the song. Guns N' Roses built their fame on Danger and Shock, but this track crossed a line even they wouldn't bring to the stage. It's one of Queen's most powerful songs, and also one of their most painful. The Show Must Go On, released in 1991, was Freddie Mercury's final artistic statement before he passed away. You can hear it in every word: the fight to keep going, the heartbreak behind the curtain, the refusal to quit.
Show must go on.
But for years, Queen couldn't bring themselves to play it live. Freddie recorded the vocals while gravely ill, reportedly downing vodka just to get through the take. His bandmates were stunned he even pulled it off. After his death, the emotional weight of the song became too much. Queen didn't perform it live until 1997, 6 years later, with Elton John on vocals for a tribute show. Even then, it was hard to watch. To this day, it's performed rarely, not because it's forgotten, but because it hurts too much. The show must go on, but sometimes not tonight. It's loud, it's rowdy, it's got bagpipes, and it defined AC/DC's rise to fame. Released in 1975, it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. Became a battle cry for every young band chasing glory. It's one of the most AC/DC songs ever written. But it vanished from their live shows. The reason? Bon Scott. He was the voice, the swagger, and the soul of the song. After his tragic death in 1980, AC/DC made a quiet but firm decision. They'd never play it live again. Brian Johnson, who took over vocals, never touched it, not out of ability, but out of respect. The song was Bon's, and it stayed that way. Fans still blast it from their stereos, and it's used in movies, tributes, and rallies. But in concert, it remains sacred. A rock anthem frozen in time, forever Bon's final word on the grind of rock and roll.
But I'm a creep.
It's the song that made Radiohead famous, and the one they tried hardest to leave behind. Creep exploded in 1992. Suddenly, a bunch of shy British art school kids were international rock stars. But Tom York, he hated it.
What the hell am I doing here?
He called it crap, said it was too mopey, too commercial, and too simple. The band started refusing to play it live, banning it from setlists for years. Why? Because they felt it boxed them in. They wanted to be experimental, unpredictable, challenging, not just the guys who wrote the sad anthem for Outkast. Fans would beg for it at shows. Sometimes York would snap back, fuck off, we're not playing that. Eventually, the band made peace with Creep, performing it occasionally. But the love never fully returned. For Radiohead, Creep was the ticket to fame and the chain that came with it. And maybe that's the real magic of rock and roll. Not just the songs we hear, but the ones we don't. The ones left off the set list. The ones frozen in time. Because in the end, what a band chooses not to play says just as much as what they do.